In a few moments, we will sit together in a bit of quiet, and then I will invite you to join me in an exercise to build resilience. Let us take some time now to sit together in stillness. You might place your feet on or towards the floor, rest your hands in your lap or wherever they're most comfortable. Closing your eyes or watching the chalice flame can help us get quiet and centered. This exercise is called acceptance, and it is something I learned from my daily spiritual practice. The original practice is from David G. David G is a mind, body, health, wellness expert, meditation teacher, and author. This is a shortened adaptation. This is only an invitation. If at any time the instruction doesn't work for you, simply focus on your breath and accept that this part doesn't work for you and await the next invitation. If you wish to join me, please breathe in deep and slow breath through your nose. Now slowly release. With this next breath, draw attention to the good days that you have created and lived. As you naturally release that breath, accept them into your core. Breathing in, witness in your mind the not so great days. And releasing this breath slowly, accept them into your core. Breathing in, draw your attention to your physical body without judgment or praise. See it in your mind's eye. Release, appreciate, and accept. Just one more. Breathing in, draw your attention to the world as you see it today. Breathing out ever so slowly, accept it. Please repeat these beautiful, resilient words to yourself, our congregation, and the universe. I am whole. I am whole. I am loved. I am love. I am peace. Namaste. Thank you.
One of the most important lessons we can learn is to slow down and connect with the still small voice inside of us. In this hyper-connected world, it's possible for us to be constantly engaged with our phones, TV, media, other people, and the tasks of everyday life. Creating a space to listen is the door into rest, replenishment, and renewal. And it's more than listening. It's creating a space for you to acknowledge your deepest, most sacred self. The psychologist Wayne Dyer, in his book, Your Sacred Self, emphasizes that we are whole beings from our very first breath of life. And by listening, we open ourselves up to self-awareness and new ways we can decide to choose personal freedom. This is at the same time one of the most difficult and one of the easiest decisions to make. to choose to heal, to choose freedom. Often we need others to help us make this choice, to ease us out of pain and move us forward on the path of life. That's why the helping professions, professional counselors, clinical social workers, coaches, doctors, nurses, and ministers are so important. I learned this lesson myself when healing from a childhood trauma. I found I was the only one who could do the work, and the healthiest thing for me was to work with a trained professional. And I truly believe that being a part of this spiritual community has played a large part in my healing. Rest has also played a big role in my healing. Walking and communing with the trees and nature is huge for me. When I go for a walk in the morning, I call in the 4 directions: the east, the south, the west, and the north. This helps me connect to something larger than myself, to help me ground in my location. As I've sought to replenish myself, I've also gained tremendously from the work of spiritual teacher Rob Bell. His audiobook, Handling Your Fire, Passion, Burnout, Routines, and Resistance, has been a major touchstone for me. He describes our lives as threads and setups, that threads are the essence of who we are. What are some of my threads? Learning, teaching, spiritual practices, art, traveling, walking, to name a few. What are some of your threads? Our passion is the connection between the thread and the setup. A setup is the particular way we're applying or enacting our thread. For example, a setup might be serving on a committee, or a particular job we have, or a place we live at a particular point in time. Rob Bell goes on to point out that listening is a means for realizing the tension at play in a setup, what's changing and evolving, so we can move with it or through it into what's next for us. It's seeing the tectonic plates of our lives and realizing when we need a new setup or that a new setup is emerging. Renewal is about listening to that still small voice and venturing forth, held by the love of others and sometimes holding the hands of other beings. Receiving comfort is another important part of renewing ourselves. As Reverend Lynn and Reverend Wendy wrote in this week's circuits, this might mean reaching out to others, showing up, and/or offering gratitude, among others. One of my friends who recently lost her mother receives great comfort when she hears the song, "All Is Well With My Soul," her mother's favorite song. And sometimes we unexpectedly receive comfort from other people. A few weeks ago, I went into a family business in Half Moon, DeVos Rainbow Orchards, that our family has supported for years. I got to talking with one of their adult sons, who I hadn't met before, and he shared with me that he and my dad had belonged to a local fraternal group that he's still a part of. He knew my dad, and this young man also recently took the role of treasurer, a role that my dad had had at one time. He shared that as he did that, he'd seen some of the paperwork that my dad had signed. My dad has gone to be with the ancestors, and I can't tell you how touched I was by that small mention in passing. Understandably, I went to the car feeling pretty emotional. What are some of the ways that you can give and receive comfort this season for yourself and for others, even in small ways? Let me close with a few words from the poet David White, a poem called "We Are Here." We are here essentially to risk ourselves in the world. We are a form of invitation to others and to otherness. We are meant to hazard ourselves for the right thing, for the right woman or the right man, for a son or a daughter, for the right work, or for a gift given against all the odds. And in all this continual risking, the most profound courage may be found in the greatest risk and the greatest vulnerability of all, the simple willingness to allow ourselves to be happy along the way.